So, Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 came out, and I absolutely loved them. I already have a short on the main channel giving my overall thoughts on the chapters, if you want to see that. But today, I wanted to talk about how Chapter 3 has a lot of themes of fear of abandonment and separation anxiety. And it's all thanks to one very special character, and the subject of today's video. Chapter 3 wastes no time throwing us into the Dark World and starting the action. We quickly meet up with Ralsei, and it is there where we get a very emotional and important scene. Susie asks Ralsei if they can hang out in the Light World together, clearly wanting to be closer with him, and this conversation reveals a lot about the Deltarune lore, specifically how Darkners function and why they can't go to the Light World. Ralsei basically explains to Susie that despite everything feeling real and real to her, it's all just an illusion. The entire Dark World is an illusion. He even goes as far as to say that Susie should just forget about him and that he doesn't want anybody in the Dark World or him to hold her and Chris back from stuff in the Light World. Susie obviously doesn't take well to Ralsei talking like that and basically tells him, "We're going to be friends no matter what. I would never forget about you." And I think the reason this scene works for me is because it establishes the fear of abandonment tones within the chapter right from the get-go, showing a fear of Susie losing Ralsei, but also Ralsei being fine with the fact that he's just going to be possibly forgotten about. It's all very depressing and real stuff, and I think it makes the story so much better. But unfortunately, that emotional scene is cut short by one of the greatest characters in fiction and my favorite character in the entire game. It is here where Mr. Tenna makes his outstanding entrance. Now, before we continue, I really want to analyze this man's design, because it is absolute peak. For starters, he is a CRT TV, which is based. Look at this man's fly-ass suit. He has that shit on! Bro is casually aura farming every chance he gets, even with that goofy ass nose. Also forgot to mention that this guy fucking Fortnite dances every chance he gets. Like, how can you not love this man? Alright, that's enough Tenna glazing. Tenna explains that he wants us to play on his game show and win a grand prize. At first, the Fun Gang is not interested in his shenanigans, which causes Tenna to become very depressed. It's only after Ralsei talks Susie into giving his game show a chance is when we actually start the chapter, and we are put through a series of actually really fun WarioWare-styled minigames. And everything seems to be going fine for the most part, but there's definitely something off with Mr. Tenna, and this is made abundantly clear throughout the chapter. Tenna obviously knows way more than he's letting on. Our first sign that something is wrong with Tenna is when he's talking to someone on the phone, and this conversation was clearly not meant for us. Essentially, it's him complaining that the games have to be good enough for the Lighteners, and he mentions that if Susie finds out about this, that it's all over. There's something that he's hiding from us, and he's clearly trying to stay on our good sides, especially Susie's. Eventually, we find out that Toriel actually got sucked into the Dark World with us. She appears to be trapped asleep in some sort of gumball capsule. And it's after this point, the games that Mr. Tenna has us playing start to feel more like distractions than actual fun. And when we tell Mr. Tenna we don't want to play his games anymore, he has a mental breakdown and decides to take control of the situation himself. And it is at this point where he decides to take us hostage and force us to play his game show, and I'm not gonna lie, Mr. Tenna actually gets a little scary at this point in the game. I was actually a little bit creeped out with the visuals being shown and him breaking down constantly. The interesting thing about Mr. Tenna, though, is that his motivation isn't really driven by the Dark Fountain like some other characters. He just really seems to love all the attention he's getting, and he just doesn't want it to end. But this does actually make a lot of sense for his character, considering he's a literal television. It's at this point we are on a mission to shut down this Dark Fountain and save Toriel, trying to track down Mr. Tenna along the way. And when we do finally meet up with him, he still very much does not want us to leave at all, and we are transported into an epic WarioWare boss fight. And I gotta say, Toby absolutely cooked with this boss fight. It is so unique with its attack patterns, and I love how they incorporate the minigames into it. It is here where Mr. Tenna reveals that he feels like garbage and that he is irrelevant because nobody wants to watch TV anymore. The knight promised him that if he kept the fun gang busy and distracted, then he would have a bunch of eyes on him. It is then when we get a really great scene of Susie trying to comfort Mr. Tenna and letting him know that there's definitely somewhere out there who actually wants to have a TV. She even tells him that they will help him find that someone. Unfortunately, the knight comes in and ruins this sweet moment and then begins to aura farm. I am never going to forgive the knight for what they did to Mr. Tenna. Overall, I think Chapter 3 does a brilliant job of showcasing its clear themes of abandonment, and as someone who struggles with fear of abandonment and who absolutely loves the art of television and film, it feels like this chapter was just made for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in whatever my next project is.